Hey guys, this is a little bit of a different video we're doing today. We're gonna have a little discussion about the Akali deck. I posted this list a few hours ago, or well, now it'll probably be days ago, on X, and it got a lot of hits and a lot of discussion. And I kind of just wanted to kind of update you guys from the last list I've posted. And I've got my friend here, JuiceGGEZ from X, who has talked to me a lot about his deck and his version of the list, which kind of inspired a lot of my changes to my list. Juice, if you just want to like say hi or introduce
Yeah.
yourself.
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, I'm Juice. You know, I gravitated towards Akali when they actually introduced the legend before we got any Vendetta reveals, and I've been tinkering with the idea of red green as if it were in Unleashed. And yeah, the deck just kind of evolved from that. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah. So let's just go into it. Let's go look here in my lists. So some of the main differences from the last time we've seen this list, one of the biggest ones is there are no Jins anymore. That was one of the main things that kind of pushed me to reorganize how this list worked was Juice didn't have it in his, and I was like, well, why? Because in my like building experience, Jin kind of made the deck kind of function more with less, I guess. I had more resources. I could pay the empower cost on Akali without putting back runes. But he kind of explained to me, is that the deck kind of needs more oomph to it. Like Jin is a 4 might unit. Like he has deflect and ganking, and he's good, but like it's too slow. Is kind of what my experience was after taking it out.
That was Oh, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you
no, go
off.
ahead, go ahead.
No, that's a similar experience to what I had when I was testing them. And obviously, in the very first draft of the deck, I had the same thought process. Like, Jin goes in, it's easy. We can move him back and forth. We can generate free resources. But then, as my testing went on with the deck, I just didn't find that like the resource value was enough. Like, yeah, a free falling star is fun, but you can only do that so many times in a game before it doesn't help you. Um, Usually, when you play the falling star, it's for a big swing,
And they're like,
and I don't know, needing to rely on a guy to give you free resources to do it. I never felt good about it.
yeah, I totally agree. And what I found myself doing was I was just sending whatever cards were in my hand down to use the Jin resources. And as it turned out, like as the game progressed, I'd be like, man, I should have saved my Falling Star. Man, I put out all my units and then they board wiped, or, I gave them more opportunities to interact with me than I needed to. And I'd also find a lot of times I would top deck Jin and it's like, okay, I have 2 cards in hand and I don't want to play either of them right now. So he's just like a unit that costs might, I guess. Like at that point, why wouldn't I just play Irelia? And that was really what I was like, maybe it should just be Aurelia. She also has deflect. uh,
Yeah, and that's where I landed too, right? I mean,
yeah.
and I told you that right away when we first started talking about the deck because I think that was your biggest, like, not concern, but your biggest question was why Aurelia over any of these other cards. And my thought process was there's no power cost. She has deflect, and with everything that Akali can do and has access to, Aurelia can get huge. And she has single handedly won me Baron pits and, you know, swung games in my favor just by dropping her on curve and then saying, all right, you guys deal with it now.
Right. Like I found it was really good into the Yi matchup as well because we can move her around a lot and make her very big, as you were saying. And also she has deflect. So the challenges and the purple bounce cards, all of those, they have to pay all these deflect costs, which obviously they were doing for Jin as well. But Irelia, they're doing it because it's a game losing threat, not trying to deny us resource access. So I find that it makes them have to pull the trigger on the removal faster, which is good. Like we would like them to try to force their hand. So it gives us more opportunities. This is more of an aggressive deck. And I think that was the other thing that I wasn't necessarily doing a great job with. My previous deck was really just leaning into it's aggressive. I need to be playing aggressive cards. And that's how we ended up with 3 Kaises in the main board as well, when there were previously 0.
And I agree to that. And I think Akali is the thing I really love about this legend is that so far from what I've seen in my own testing and what other people are finding success with
And they're
is
like,
you can play her however you're comfortable. I mean, this color combo gives you so much.
and they're like,
And I think the trap a lot of people who are trying to build Akali fall into is just the movement on your turn. I think they're trying so hard to they're trying so hard to get that where you don't need it all the time. There's games where I'll go 3-4 turns in a row without using her ability, that I'll just play the tempo game, which is a play style thing for me. Um, and we'll talk about that later, but I don't know. I think people are falling into that trap. And when you look at it from outside of that box and you can say, oh wow, like I have so much freedom with this card pool, it really opens up a whole new set of tools that you can improve upon.
I totally agree. The other trap I found a lot of people online are falling into is trying to make it another Irelia deck, just in different colors. And I don't think that is a correct angle to be taking this deck. They are functionally very different. Whereas Aurelia plays a very much like protect the president kind of play style with a lot of interaction for protecting one unit and keeping one unit alive the whole time. We have the ability here to play more units. We can play with accelerate units. Our signature spell is effectively giving a unit accelerate and blowing something up at the same time too. So I find that we don't have to necessarily play into that Irelia simulator deck, and we can actually branch out and play into the Akali. I guess really more of the domain combination. Like playing into the domain combination, I think is a better way of building the deck versus playing into some kind of build around. The legend is a great build around for like movement stuff, but competitively speaking, I don't think that's the best way to take the deck.
Yeah. And it's fine, right? Where, and we've talked about this pretty in depth, and I'm sure we'll cover it a little later, but Twilight Reveler was another trap that everybody was like, oh my God, it has an infinite combo. We got to force it. And it's, at the end of the day, it's just a 3 might unit and it gets blown up easy. It gets gusted. And it's really just, whatever. And that was another thing I've seen people falling into is like trying to force and make that work. Um, so
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a wide open uh color combo, right? There's so much you can do with it, and there's so much there's so many options. But to your point about the whole using the legend ability and stuff, you really only need a couple of cards that benefit off of it, because the way I like to play it, and I'm assuming, you know, this is how most people should play it, in my opinion, is you use Akali's ability when they've already used their resources.
Yeah.
So you can make your guys really big with your disciplines, and if you're running on guard, you can use that, or um, your pendulum blades, whatever you're running in your build, you can use that, make your guys big, go in and attack, and force them to use resources. Save your guy, and then if you have the shuriken flip, or if Akali's empowered, you go, okay, you used all your tricks, everything's done. All right, cool, we're going back to combat. That's how I like to use it. I don't necessarily need to get a movement trigger,
And
right?
they're like,
Obviously, we're running Stellacorn. Card draw is insane in this game. And in a deck like this, where you can draw 2, 3, 4 cards a turn, it's just giving you so many more resources. And I think that's just another full aspect of it. And going back to when we were talking about Jin, now you have people who are running Stellacorn and Jin, and now it's like, which one do I use? And
yeah.
you just have a dead guy in your base.
Right, right. That was what I was finding is I'd have a lot of games where I have Stellacorn and Jin in my base, and it's like, okay, do I need cards or do I need resources? And it's like, maybe I don't need either, or maybe the Jin should be Kaisis, or maybe the Jin should be Irelius. Whatever it is, it's like, I think that I needed more in that case. And
Right.
I totally agree with you how playing through the deck more and more, I find myself just waiting to get as many resources from the opponent as I can and then using the ability. And I don't really think that you would need to use the legend ability more than 2 or 3 times in a game for it to like have a very large impact on the game. I think a lot of people want to use their legend every single turn of every single game, but this legend does not read like that. This legend reads, I'm going to bait you with my E and League of Legends and outplay you by putting it in my Twilight Shroud or whatever. Like,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I think it's better
Absolutely.
used as a bait ability. So let's kind of get into some of the differences with your deck because I have gone for
Sure.
more. I think I would almost call it a more defensive build because I have the Mask of Foresight, and I think I have Emperor's Divide, and I don't think you have Emperor's Divide, and I know you don't have Mask of Foresight. You've gone
Yeah.
for On Guard. I think is basically filling the same role as Mask of Foresight. It's just more reaction speed, which I like. By the way, I was curious why you kind of landed on the On Guard. Is it just for the Irelia, or is it you've just found it in your games better?
Yeah, so that's a valid question. And the reason I landed on guard instead of the mask or, other sorts of interaction spells is because I think that 1 and 2 might that Unguard can give is so crucial. And it can be used both offensively or defensively.
True.
But the other part is there is so much main deck gear hate right now that let's say you tap out on your turn, you play your mask, you play your guy, you equip it, like whatever, and then they just go disarming rake or brittle steel or any other 1,000 different pieces of gear hate, and you go, well, now I just feel bad and I can't save my guy. So that was kind of the thought process I had when deciding not to play any gear in the deck.
And they're like,
But yeah, so that's how I ended up landing on guard.
I got you. I guess maybe the biggest thing we should have talked about this first is that you're running Red Akali Chosen Champion versus I'm running Green Akali Chosen Champion. We both run 2 Green Akalis in the deck because, I mean, admittedly, this was a question I actually answered on X as well. Like, you are never upset having 2 Green Akalis. Like, they're just so hard for the opponent to deal with most of the time, and this deck is incredibly good at keeping this unit alive and around. So
Yeah.
what do you find with Red Akali that you like so much is that it's like the main deck chosen champion? Because I have it in the sideboard and I totally agree in some matchups, I would just slot it right in over the green.
So you actually kind of covered it in a roundabout sense, and so I'll break it down as to why. So I chose Red Akali as my champ unit because it opens up one, an extra slot in my sideboard, and two, I'm already running 2 Green Akali in the main board. And while I could go and run three against certain matchups, I feel like if I draw 3 Green Akali in a game, I'm going to be kind of annoyed by it because I'd rather have an additional guy that does something. And to your point, where Red Akali is so clutch in certain matchups, I mean, uh, this past Nexus night I was at, I ran into a spider deck. Believe it or not, it was a Vex deck, ran the spider engine, and it was really cheeky. It super threw me off the first game, but then I realized how to play against it, and I realized just how strong Akali is, or Red Akali is, versus all these token decks that are running around, all these, hold decks where, they have 2, 3 might units, and you can deal with them so easily with the red unit alone. So so for me, it's like it's basically a free slot in my deck that says it's almost like the way that I like to think about it, it's like an 11th sideboard card
Mm-hmm.
because she can just stay in my champ zone. I don't need to play her. There's gonna be games where I just don't need to play her unless it's, I'm at 6 points, I have no dudes and they don't control any battlefields. I can go pay 3 Red Akali, sure can flip.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
And
so
they're
she's
like,
just an additional card in hand, card in my sideboard that I don't have to move around
mm-hmm.
because I already have the 2 Green Akalis in main. So that's how I landed on her. And so far in testing, she has been absolutely lights out. I mean, I know people were a little iffy on her, but in my testing, she's been great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the certain matchups like Mastery, Draven, even people will tell you that Draven just like stomps Akali, and I think that they just don't know how to play that matchup at all. Because like overzealous fan, this is a move trigger. Red Akali is a move trigger. It's not an attack trigger. It's
Correct.
an defend trigger. It's a move trigger. So if they have one unit at that base at that battlefield, you can kill it possibly with a combination of things. Red Akali being the move trigger that like finishes it off. The other thing, it can hit their overzealous fan so they can't push it back. Like you can force a combat that maybe the Draven player didn't want to have. So I totally agree. I've been playing around with it, and I guess I find myself, maybe I'm pulling the trigger on it too soon, because I find myself wishing I had Green Akali more times than not. But admittedly, I have not played this deck as much on paper as you, so I don't have a lot of experience with like the best of threes, because on TCG Arena, when you stomp somebody or something, they never let you play game two. They always disconnect. So half the time I'm not making it to game two to even find out like what the Red Akali was going to feel like. So, and it's just been in sideboard jail.
Yeah, and that's and that's completely valid. In paper testing, she has been performing infinitely better than any of the stuff I've played online. And she felt fine playing on, whether it was TCG Arena or Rift Atlas. She's always felt fine, and she felt good enough because being empowered and then having your legend ability, she's taking out a 4 might unit more often than not. But on paper, when you drop her and you empower her, people are just kind of like hard pressed to deal with her because there's not a ton of stuff that can one shot a 4 might unit. And with that being said, it's like I said, you have access to her move trigger. She does get bigger with her empower, and it's just, I think people kind of go into that panic mode, like, man, if I don't take care of this thing soon, it's gonna ruin my day. And I mean, I can't tell you, there was one game I played where they just did not have an answer for her. I dropped her. I was going second, dropped her turn one, and powered her the following turn. And my opponent for 5 or 6 turns just could not do anything. And they couldn't deal with it. And anytime they would even attempt to take a battlefield, it was like, I'm just going to kill their guy. I'm going to go in. I'm going to conquer. I'm going to, shirk and flip over here, charm their guy in base. It just,
And
I
they're
don't know.
like,
She becomes a target. And what's nice, at least in my list, I don't care if they kill her because I want them to use their resources killing her rather than using them on Aurelia or Kaisa or Stellacorn or Forerunner. I want those guys for my combat. So if I can force my opponent into bad play lines because I have Red Akali, that's what feels really good.
yeah, I think I could see that for sure. So the other thing that you're running that's kind of different from my deck here is that you have 2 not so fast. Does that have to do with like, is your local meta got a lot more of the Diana players or like spell based decks like that?
So my local scene is pretty wide open actually. My like play group that I play with consistently, one of them is a Victor player. He plays Spell Victor. One of them is a Vex player. We have an Azir player. We have up in like with my play group, we have so many different decks. One of them is a Rek'Sai player. We have a couple of LeBlanc players. So it's less about that and more just it's in there just in case, right? Like it's another counter spell. And I mean, you and I were talking about this prior to the start of the video. We both come from a Magic background. And I'll admit, I'm a blue player in Magic. I love my counters. So, just having the option. And I mean, it's fun where people don't expect it because I don't think a ton of green decks are maining more than one not so fast, if any.
Yeah.
So they think like, oh, I'm going to get a free this or that, or I'm going to get a free back off, or I'm going to get, let's say they do try to waste their falling star on, Red Akali or a Kaisa. I can say not so fast. And now they just paid, 2 power for nothing. It's like, it just kind of catches people off. And it is a card that matchup dependent. I do side in and out. So it kind of just gives me that flexibility. If somebody was to take my exact list they could main deck the back offs or the brittle steel or the second charm, or you could swap out not so fast for Emperor's Divide. Like, it's such a flex spot. I
Yeah.
just like having access to the counter. Um, and
Yeah.
there is an argument for a one of not so fast and a one of Emperor's Divide, but you know, again, it's
Yeah.
still so early in the meta. But so far, the two not so fast has been absolutely crucial.
Yeah. Like that's kind of where I think I'm leaning towards is I'm having like it's a hard choice because it is just right like you're saying, a flex spot. And Emperor's Divide and my testing online, and it could be skewed, has been performing for me better than if I'd had a not so fast. Most of the time, like pulling the unit off the battlefield was the answer I needed. Now, there is a lot of removal that hits base and battlefield that not so fast would be a very good stop to, just like you were saying with Falling Star. Singularity also comes to mind. So it's definitely something to consider. I think that, they're all valid choices and it really just comes down to like preference and playstyle. I'm kind of a, little bitch and I like to keep my units in base as much as I can and keep them safe. So I kind of prefer the Emperor's Divide, but I really like the not so fast too. And the other thing that you're kind of running that's different from mine is the pikes. And I like this play as well here with the pikes. Have you been finding them to be pretty successful in like as a hidden card and stuff?
Pike, by far, has been the best card in the deck.
Really?
I can't even begin to deny that. And again, first off, I'm going to put this out there, and I'm going to shout out my buddy Saul because we've come to the same conclusion. I genuinely believe that Pike is one of the very best three drops in all of Riftbound. For the value that he gives, what he can do just by dropping him is absolutely bonkers. On on turn one, especially if you're going second, you have a 4 might unit that comes in ready for 3 and a power and can trade with anything, and it has ganking.
Yeah, it does have ganking. I like that.
There's, I mean, maybe it's different now in the Vendetta meta, but there's not a ton of things that can respond to a turn one Pike, right? So it's at least getting you 2 points, potentially three,
Yeah.
right, just on its own. And then everybody assumes because I'm playing Akali that I'm going to be running back off in the main board or something, or they assume it's the Emperor's Divide. So they'll go in with, one open and they'll go, oh, on guard. And I go, okay, cool. I have +4. And they're like, oh, it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, it's
And
actually
it's,
more money.
and then like they can't deal with it. So it's now, what do you deal with? Do you kill the Pike or do you kill the other thing that's probably just as annoying, if not more? But don't forget, Pike has ganking. So it's
Yeah.
like now it forces them into a hard choice of what to kill. And if they kill the wrong thing and whatever, it's huge, right? So Pike was
Yeah.
actually one of the very first cards I put into the deck. When I was building it, it was like 3 Kaisa, 2 Pike, 2 Forerunner. Where do I go from here?
Yeah.
Was really just kind of like where I started. And then obviously like defies and stuff too, but for like my unit specifically, that's
Yeah.
kind of where I was at.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Pike has easily been the best performer so far.
Yeah, I mean, I like the pikes. I really like the +4 like out of nowhere. Like I feel like people don't expect that, and it's definitely like something worth noting that making your deck have some unpredictable aspects and the hidden slots is a really smart way to play the game because people are expecting, like you're saying, Emperor's Divide. I think Zonia's Hourglass is the other card people are expecting from hidden and back off. So when you play something
Yeah.
that's not that, like it throws them off their rocker. Like at least in game one, you can sometimes get a cheeky little win or play off of that. So I do like that, and it having because I think the one weakness in my deck is the lack of ganking. I've been debating putting in, and let's move to these battlefields here because you have the Windswept Hillock, and that's actually something I've been debating on putting in just to have a game with ganking units. How's that been performing for you? Because my, I guess, issue with the Windswept Hillock is I feel like it's a very equal battlefield, and I like to play battlefields that are unequal. Like they benefit my deck more than the opponents.
Yeah, so great question. Before Vendetta, I was a LeBlanc player, and I used Windswept a ton in that deck.
Hmm.
Um, and it kind of just was a natural movement saying, like, okay, I'm playing a deck that gets big beefy guys. I go take battlefields. It's a tempo deck. I want and the whole point tempo thing, I will talk about that maybe at some other point. I don't necessarily believe in it the way that I think some people are so hyper fixated on it. So for me, the idea to just give some of my guys ganking, like if I can go and take your battlefield with Red Akali and then gank over and say, all right, well, I just killed two guys, scored 2 points with one dude, right? So there's a lot of that in there when it comes to the windswept. But honestly, I've been considering back alley bar or whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's what I'm playing.
I do really like that battlefield as well. And if I were to change it, it would take place of the windswept.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like that play. I mean, I like the Targon's Peak too. Like the other difference in our battlefields is you have Targon's Peak and I have the Star Spring. And honestly, I think all of these are valid battlefield choices. Like I really couldn't tell you. I don't think I've played the deck enough to tell you which is the best. But I like that, and I actually think I could like Targon's Peak more than Star Spring just because I think it might benefit us more. Lets us dump more resources into our, developing our board on our turn.
Right. And that's exactly why I ended up going with Targons, is because I was like,
And they're
okay,
like,
if I need to be slightly more aggressive on a particular turn, that's okay. I don't mind, if I know I can go and conquer that battlefield, I don't mind spending or tapping out to go and drop the Green Akali or Aurelia or Ferris Forerunner. Like, it doesn't bother me because I know I'm going to get the two back. So that if for, in some scenario that my opponent has an answer to the guy I just played, or
and
they
they're like,
have, whatever it is, that I can just say, no, like I have my not so fast, I have my defy, or you want to go and try to trade with whoever I just conquered Targons with, it's fine. But now you have to play into, do they have the discipline? Do they have the unguard? Stuff like that.
yeah,
And I think that's a bigger factor where I know you were saying just before you like playing the unfair battlefields, but I don't mind playing the fair one because the way that I see it is I just have to be better than my opponent. The decks shouldn't matter,
yeah,
right? Which obviously I know decks do have better and worse matchups, which is something that you're never going to avoid. But if I can just play my deck perfectly, that's all that I need to do to have my best chance at winning. So if that means I have to give up 2 runes to my opponent because they took Targon's back, and now I have to fight into a gust or something along those lines, or like a stupefy or something, I don't mind because they're just trying to do the same thing I'm doing. But I think having my 2 runes back at the end of that turn puts me in the best possible position to succeed.
but yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I totally agree. Obviously, your deck here is running more reactions than my deck, as we were talking about earlier. So it makes more sense for you to want to run like a battlefield that supports playing more reactions. So I
Right.
think I totally see that. And I think also, being, you know, the more choices we put our opponent through, that's where we get the opportunity to outplay them. That's really where the skill expression comes down to in this game is who makes the choices better. Like, decks, are decks. Like a lot of people net deck too. Most of the people you'll probably play with at a Nexus night, they're probably half of them are net decking. It is what it is. It's just like how TCGs are. So putting our opponent through the gauntlet, trying to make them make as many choices as possible. Like I do agree, especially when you're holding up. You know, what if you're holding up 2 on guards? Freaking +4. Like that's pretty
Right.
crazy.
Exactly. And
So
I've had scenarios like that too. And I've had instances where, I've top decked the card I needed that turn or something, right? Like
yeah,
it's so nice having just the flexibility. And then the third battlefield is obviously the Void Gate.
yeah, it's a no brainer.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a no
it
brainer.
makes way too much sense. Yeah.
Makes way too much sense, especially like you can shuriken and flip 2 times in a turn very often. Like that's 6 damage.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
uh Really good. Let's move on real quick to the sideboard here, because
Sure.
our sideboards are basically identical, so we can, wrap this up into a nice little box. The only
Yeah.
difference in our sideboards, realistically, is you are running one more gear hate than me, because I run 2 charms in main board, and you're basically that's what the red Akali is giving you an extra gear
Right.
hate piece. So, do you think that you need 4 pieces of gear hate? Like that's been something you felt like is necessary?
Yeah. So far, believe it or not, in all the testing I've done with this deck, I think I am a record of like 12-3 or something like that so far between online paper matches. It might be 14-3 or something. I don't remember the exact number, but um, I haven't played against an Aurora deck once. Uh, I but I so I will say I have played against a few Azir decks, and
Yeah, Thermo Beam, you need
obviously, like
Azir.
my buddy that plays Spell Victor, he plays the gear that makes all of his dudes. So I find that having the 4 pieces of gear hate is fine. How many you side in really depends. Depends on the deck. Like playing against Azir, I might side in just the 2 thermo beams. I side in the disarming rake. But the reason why I have one brittle steel and one disarming rake is I'm just testing both of them to see which one I like better. Maybe I do end up just liking one and one, but I both of them are very strong cards. I mean, one of them kills the gear and establishes a body. The other one can effectively kill 2 pieces of gear. And my only worry about brittle steel is that it can get defied, it can get not so fast and hard bargained, abandoned, whatever. Whereas disarming rate can't. But it's like, you know, it, there's pros and cons to both. So right now, I'm trying a combo of one and one,
Hmm.
but maybe I'll land on 2 of one, none of the other, vice versa. But right now, it's at one and one.
So this is one thing that I think I might have a little more experience with you with, is that I have played against a fair share of Aurora. One of my friends plays an Aurora deck, but also I've played against it plenty of times online, and I have actually found both the disarming rake and the brittle steel to both be very successful at mitigating the Aurora threat. Uh, like you were saying with the spell interaction for brittle steel makes me want to lean towards maybe making my second copy. Right now I have 2 brittle steel, 1 disarming rake, and I'm leaning towards 2 disarming rake and 1 brittle steel, especially because brittle steel has flow. Um, but I found them to be enough, and I've never really wanted to have thermo beam. And as far as it goes into the Azir matchup, it's been the only time I've been like, maybe I should have at least 1 thermo beam in my sideboard. But the thing is like into Azir, you kind of need it sooner than you do. You know what I mean? Like you probably need 2. Like I think you do need 2 for the Azir matchup. Like
Oh,
so it's
absolutely.
like a tough call. Maybe it's just 2 disarming rakes and 2 thermo beams. I'm not sure. I think
And that's what I started with was 2 disarming rakes, 2 thermo beams, and then I had instances where I was like, man, brittle steel would just be better than the disarming rake. So that's how I ended up going to one and one. But for what it's worth, I mean, I think thermo beam is also just fine against Aurora. It's like you side it in, yeah, it costs quite a bit, but I mean, you're essentially blowing up their entire plan regardless. And at that point in the game, this deck I feel like just kind of naturally counters Aurora anyway. It's so
yeah,
fast.
it's
I
very
mean,
fast.
it's Elder Dragon can't deal with Green Akali, and if you have Aurelia out, it's just they're paying
It's a
however
mess.
much power. Yeah, for them it's a hard matchup in general, or at least on paper it should be. And like you said, you have more experience, and your findings are that it is just a hard matchup for Aurora. But I don't think you mind paying the extra cost for Thermo Beam, just so that way there you do have it for that Azir matchup,
Yeah.
or whatever other gear decks there are. Like, I know there are some gear variants of Ambessa that are floating around right now. So, like, having it for that, I don't know. I like the idea. I like having Thermo Beam. It's maybe it's a comfort card. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've been running 2 of thermo beams in all my red decks, historically before now. but I never had one with red and green at the same time before. So I've
Right.
been trying out new stuff, and I do really like the disarming rake into the Aurora matchup specifically because it gives us a new unit to maybe close out the game with, or at least keep our
Yep.
tempo. Because I found specifically there was one instance, and obviously this is very isolated, but I was on 6 points, and the Aurora player finally got to play their Aurora, and they blew up all my crap. And I top deck a disarming rake, play it. I blew up their Aurora. I moved in my disarming rake into a battlefield with a shuriken flip that was in my trash, and they did not play another Aurora, and they could not get rid of my disarming rake. They tried to remove it with a gust, and I had a discipline to make it a 4, and that was the game. And I just won from disarming rake giving me the answer to Aurora and a unit to keep pushing the points. So
Yeah.
I think it's a tough call.
That's the exact thought. No, that's the exact thought process that I've had. Right. But, again, and I mentioned this earlier. I mean, it's a young meta. The deck is
Yeah.
likely to evolve as things go on.
Yeah.
But I think I'm happy with where my side is.
Yeah, and
There
Darius
is Darius has been.
People ask in the X thread a lot. We're like, Ferris Forerunner sucks because of Diana and blah blah blah. And I always have to reply to these people like, you can't build your deck around one card or one matchup. Like, that's a very thin way of viewing the game. And there's the sideboard exists for this like exact reason. Obviously, purple bounce is something to think about. So we run Darius, who readies himself. Like, this is the answer for the purple bounce. We take out the Ferris Forerunners, we put in the Darius. It's an easy swap. It makes total sense.
Yeah, no, and the my favorite thing about Darius, and it's as simple as saying him and Shuriken Flip is just an insane combination.
Oh, okay.
It's like, especially, and that's another reason. Like, if I'm playing on Windswept, I would side in the Darius, right? Because it goes, okay, Shuriken Flip 2 Windswept, ready himself, gank over.
Oh,
it's just so simple. But no, the other thing I was going to say about my sideboard, because I feel like Darius should be pretty obvious in this deck. I understand he's kind of fallen out of a lot of the other red decks that are running around right now, which I think is fine, right? Like he's a good card, but there's not a ton of decks right now in red that can fully utilize his ability. Maybe Draven can do it pretty well, but
I love him in Draven.
Yeah. See, like I've never attempted to build Draven, so I'm not gonna pretend like I know what I'm talking about. But in this, it's like you can manipulate and move him so easy. And I mean, if you play him and then you have an unguard and he's your only dude in base, now he's an 11 and you're pushing into a battlefield. It's like he gets out of hand pretty quick.
And he's something you drop from your hand that turn. And I feel like that's really important. Like, people don't that's basically what Fury does best, is putting shit down this turn, and that's where you catch out your opponent, because this is a mid-range color, right? Like, Fury's mid-range to a T. And how we win is from playing things when our opponent does not expect it. Playing, maybe it's even strange sequencing, like they're like, it's the third turn of the game. They're not expecting you to just drop a Darius and go to both battlefields with him. Like, I don't see that coming. I really like him. I had him in mainboard for a while, and then I kind of found that sometimes the Ferris Forerunner is just better. And generally speaking, it is, just because it lets you recover from overextending, which is a problem this deck has, is you kind of lose when you overextend.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm sure you could tell by looking at my list and comparing it to, some of the choices you have in yours versus a lot of what we've been seeing online. I've played a ton of card games my whole life. I've played almost every popular game between Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic. I dabbled in Pokemon. I played Dragon Ball Fusion World. I got to nationals for that. I played Lorcana competitively. And for me, the differences between our lists is just, I am a mid-range tempo player to a T. Like, it is my favorite play style. Shout out the other best game in the world, the Final Fantasy trading card game. Man, I wish the scene was bigger, and I wish we still had one. This is my favorite game of all time. And the deck I played was a mid-range tempo deck, and I fell so in love with that play style that whenever I get the opportunity to recreate it, I go for it. And that's what I've been able to do with Akali
Yeah.
is create it basically in the image of that deck. Um and this is it's why I love this deck so much, why I want it to be good, and why I want to get good with it is because I can play it the way that I love to play card games.
Totally, totally. Well, this was a great discussion. Juice, I really appreciate you hopping on the call and sharing all of your insightful views and stuff, because you've played this deck more in paper, which I think is really important for the discussion and the community stuff. And I feel like this deck as a whole has been, everyone is throwing their, ball into the basket, and I don't think they're all landing as well as I think you and I have really landed somewhere with these two lists. And I'm very excited to see what we do as we play them more and get to make more choices and stuff. And also we're gonna get another set in a few months too, so that could change stuff too.
No, I completely agree, and I'm right there with you. I messaged you earlier when I saw like all the replies. I was like, man, maybe we solved a Akali for
Yeah,
the meta. Like, who knows,
yeah,
right? It could be us. And I think you're right. Like, I think we are onto something. I've seen lists and I've had friends who have like seen my list versus some of the lists online, and they're like, it's not really hitting the mark for me. And then they see mine and they're like, wow, this seems better.
yeah.
Um, so no, I agree, and I appreciate you having me on the call. I'm a new Riftbound player. I was telling you this before we started. I only started playing in Unleashed,
Yeah.
and it's I've become so enthralled with this game because just how Riot is handling everything with the communications of the players. I've just fallen so in love with this game. The community has been incredible, and I've really wanted to harness and upgrade my deck building ability, and it really feels like I've done that. To put it in perspective, this version of Akali, I wouldn't even call it like version two. I'd call it like one and a half because it was like 3 or 4 cards different from my first build. So I really like took the time to like study this and study the
Yeah.
character and the legend and really just understand what the deck wants to do, and this is where I've landed. So
Yeah. I mean,
and I do agree with you.
I think it looks great. I mean, I'm on the third version of my list, and I still have not landed to be exactly at yours, just to like put it how well I think you've put this list together. So again, a really big shout out for you hopping on the call, spending some time, your time with me, and discussing all this. And of course, I'm sure all the viewers will appreciate it as well. And I want to thank all the people watching and all the people commenting and stuff on my X and stuff has really gotten me into doing all this. So thank you all, and thank you, Juice. Any last remark?
No, that's it. Thank you for having me. Shout out everybody, and I look forward to seeing you all in LA.
Yep, Juice will be at LA, so you guys can go see him there, getting the best of Akali. So
Hopefully.
yeah,
Fingers
well,
crossed.
I've got my fingers crossed. All right, thank you guys. See you in the next one.